Hello everyone, this is Kshitij Pathak and the topic of today's lecture is process. What is a process? It is defined as program in execution. For understanding this particular definition, let's take an example. Suppose you have written a program for the addition of two numbers in C. And you have named the file as add.c. Okay. After that, you have compiled this particular C program and the object file or the executable file gets generated. Where they are stored? They are stored in the hard disk or in the secondary storage. Okay. In terms of operating system, we are going to use the words backing store for the secondary storage. Okay, that means we are going to use the word backing store for the hard disk. After that, this executable file has to be loaded by the loader into the main memory. Okay, main memory. What is main memory? It's RAM. That is the random access memory. And from the main memory, it can be assigned to CPU for execution. Okay, this is how a process gets executed. You have written some program in high level language. After the compilation of that particular program, object file or the executable file gets generated. That executable file will be bring into the main memory or the RAM, and from there on it will be assigned to CPU for execution. Okay, so when the source code is there, they are just the set of instructions. They are stored on the hard disk. We can see here. Okay, they are stored on the hard disk. No dynamics has been associated with it. But as soon as that program started to execute, various resources like the memory, processor, etc. gets associated with it. That's why there are two separate terms, process and a program. Program is a passive entity, whereas the process is a active entity. Why? Just because some resources are associated with it. Also, the status of the current activity of a process is represented by the program counter and the processor registers. That differentiates between the process and a program. Now, when a process has been brought into the main memory, how the memory layout of the process look like? Let's go through it. The memory layout of a process is divided into various sections. What are those sections? They are stack section, heap section, data section, and the text section. In the stack section, all the local variables, parameters associated with the function, return addresses, all these are stored in the stack section of the memory. And all the dynamically allocated memory or all the dynamically allocated variables are stored in the heap section of the memory. Now, third one is the data section. Data section will be used for storing the global variables. Data section is further divided into initialized data section and the uninitialized data section. If a global variable is initialized, it will be stored in the initialized data section, whereas if the global variable is not initialized, it will be stored in the uninitialized data section. Now comes the fourth section, that is the text section. It contains all the executable instructions. Okay, all the executable instructions. That file I have already mentioned. As soon as the program has been compiled, object file or the executable file gets generated. Where that executable file will be stored in the memory, it will be stored in the text section of the memory. It is a read-only section. Okay. Let's take an example for better understanding the memory layout. This is a program which is written in C language. Okay, we can see here, this is a statement by which we can see that there are two global variables, A and B. A is initialized with 50 and B is not initialized. This statement declares the local variables. Two local variables have been declared. One of them is pointer although. And this is the statement associated with the dynamic memory allocation. Now, how they are going to utilize the memory? Let's have a look. These are the global variables, so they will be stored in the data section of the memory. And further, A will be stored in the initialized data section because it's an initialized global variable, and B will be stored in the uninitialized data section of the memory since it's not initialized. Okay. Now, in this statement, we can see that there are local variables. So where the local variables will be stored? They will be stored in the stack section of the memory. Okay. Now, this is a statement associated with the dynamic memory allocation. So the memory that will be associated with this particular variable will be stored into the heap section of the memory. Okay. Now comes the last section, that is the text section. Okay. In text section, what is going to be stored? This section stores the executable instructions. I would like to mention here, this section does not include the code which is written in the high level language. This section will store the executable instructions. Next is the process state and the process state diagram. As the process gets executed, it changes the state, and the state of a process is represented by its activity. 5 states are there: new, ready, running, waiting, and the terminated. Initially, all the processes of the system are set to be in new state. Okay. As soon as the process is created, it is set to be in new state. Now, that process has to be loaded into the main memory. So, as soon as process enters into the main memory, it is set to be in ready state. By the name also it's quite clear. It is in ready state means it's waiting for the CPU. Next, third state is the running state. As soon as process has been dispatched to CPU, it started the execution, and when a process is executing, it is set to be in running state. Next state is the waiting state. Suppose a process is executing and some input output request is there. Just for example, we have written a program for the addition of two numbers. Okay, and that two numbers will be provided as the input by the user. A program is executing, but the execution will stop till the user enters the values. So in this particular scenario, the program or the process is in waiting state. Last one is the terminated state. If the execution of the process has been completed, then it is set to be in terminated state. When the process gets terminated, it will be removed from the main memory so as to make the space available for the other processes. For better understanding of this state, let's go through the process state diagram. Initially, all the processes are in new state. Okay. And from the new state, they will be loaded into the main memory. So when the process enters into the main memory, they are set to be in ready state. Okay. From the main memory, they will be assigned to CPU for execution. So once they will be assigned to CPU, they started executing and the process is set to be in running state. Now from the running state, we can see that there are three outgoing arrows. One is here, second one is here, and third one is here. Let's go through them one by one. If a process is executing, that means it is in running state, and if all the statements of that process has been executed, then that process will exit and will enters into the terminated state. Okay, I have already mentioned that if a process gets terminated, it will be removed from the main memory so as to make the space available for the another processes. Now coming towards the second scenario, suppose a process is executing and some input output request is there. In that case, the process will enter from running to waiting state. It will wait till the IO or event has been completed. Third scenario, if a process is executing and some interrupt get occurs. How the interrupt get occurs? Suppose one of the process P1 is executing and P2 process enters into the main memory which is having the highest priority. In that case, we need to stop the execution of P1 and P2 needs to be executed. So the P1 will be sent back to the ready state. This is the third case. If a process is executing and some interrupt occur, in that case the process will again be sent from running to ready state. Now after completion of the input output event, after the completion of the input output request or the event wait, the process will again enters into the ready state. There can be doubt in one's mind that why not after the completion of the input output request, process has been again sent from waiting to running state. Let's take a scenario for that. Suppose there are three processes P1, P2 and P3, they are in ready state. Ready state, that means they are in main memory. Now P1 has been assigned to CPU for execution. So P1 is currently in running state. Now some input output request is there. Then P1 will enter into the waiting state. Okay, till that IO request has been handled. When P1 is in waiting state, the CPU is idle. It's not doing any work. But in the concept of the multi-programming, we need to utilize the CPU and the resources as much as we can. Okay, that means in multi-programming, we need to maximize the CPU utilization. But in this particular scenario, P1 is in waiting state, CPU is idle. So what will be done? Among the remaining processes which are in ready state, that is P2 and P3, one of them will be selected and assigned to CPU. Let's suppose the selected process is P2. So P2 is now in running state. Okay. Now, suppose the IO request has been completed for P1, but P1 cannot enter directly from waiting to running state. Why? Because P2 is already with CPU. It is in running state and the processor cannot handle multiple processes at a time. It can handle only one process at a time. That's why after the completion of the input output request, the process will be sent from waiting state to ready state. I hope the things has been clear to you. Next topic is process control block. Each process is represented by process control block. Process control block keep several information associated with a particular process, like the process state, process number, program counter, memory management information, etc. Let's go through them one by one. First is the process state. This particular field keeps the information that currently the process is in which state. It is in ready state, running state, waiting state, etc. Okay. Second field is the process number. Each process has to be uniquely identified. That's why a unique ID has been associated with a particular process. That unique ID is known as the process ID or the PID. Third is the program counter. We know very well about it. Program counter contains the address of next instruction that is to be executed. Suppose currently the third instruction of a process is executing. So the program counter will contain the address of the fourth instruction. Next field is the CPU registers. It's keeping the content of all the process centric registers. There can be a thought that why we need to store the CPU registers. Okay. Suppose a process is executing, okay, but after execution of certain statements, that process has to be preempted. Preempted, that means it's not completely get executed. In halfway of it or after the execution of certain instruction, that process has to be again sent back to ready state. So we need to store the value of the registers so that when the process will come again for the execution, then there will be no issues. Another field is the CPU scheduling information. Various CPU scheduling algorithms are there, like the FCFS, round robin, SJF. So this field keeps the information regarding the CPU scheduling algorithm. Next field is the memory management information. How much the memory has been allocated to a particular process, as well as suppose various memory management technique like the paging segmentations are there. So how the page table and the segment tables are stored and the link to that page table and the segment table will be placed here. Next field is the accounting information. This field keeps tracks of how much CPU has been used, how much real time has been elapsed after the start of the execution. All this information will be kept in this particular field. Next is the IO status information. Which IO devices are currently allocated to this particular process? That has been information is stored in this particular field. So this is how a PCB look like. It keeps all the information associated with a particular process.